Alright, guess it's time to look at what I've been doing on this thing, and the RX7 as well has got a bit of love in the background too. So I've been super busy of late. RX7, we raced February sometime, I forget, like early Feb or whatever. So unfortunately was incredibly busy doing some other normal life things during that time. And then also late-ish sort of March, mid-March, whatever, copped the flu. So that knocked me around for like 2+ weeks, and still even coming out here at night is a bit of a struggle sort of thing at the moment. So slowly getting back into it. This is basically the first sort of work I've done in a while. So let's have a look at some progress on what I've done here with the RX4. So main things here with the RX4 is what you can see here, a big strut brace. So this will sit more like something like that. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to run this cover here, but I'm making this strut brace so it sits like that. So if I do or don't run the cover, without having to remove this strut brace and everything, I can still change the spark plugs. Because what I don't want to do is have anything that's, you know, not easily removable. I mean, I could get like a, you know, cut a slot here with a nut and bolt or whatever, but I want it to sort of look somewhat nice at least. And, you know, a couple of quick release bloody bolts and stuff, and that's just more messing around, more cost really for no reason, because you know, I don't really care. That engine looks fine the way it is. It doesn't really need this sitting on top of a piece of plastic anyway. The second part of this strut brace will be, you can see that is the bonnet catch, and that goes there. And what I'll do is I'll build a box that plates here and comes out, runs around the bottom and comes out as well. And then I'll have another bar that'll go this way and attach in. So it will basically tie the two strut towers together and then triangulate to the firewall to add a bit of rigidity, because remember, this has to undergo the engineering test where they, you know, they try and basically pull the bloody thing apart and twist it on its axis. So want to make sure I'm adding strength everywhere where I can. It's probably not going to be too much of an issue. I'm not really overly worried about it failing that test anyway, because realistically, I have to put a 6-point roll cage in this thing. I didn't really want to, but because of the age of the vehicle, I believe it's like the fastest I can run might even be like 11.99 with no cage. So even if then I put a 4-point cage in, I think then I can only run to maybe 9.99. So it's not really worth not putting in a 6-point cage first now, considering the car's going to get engineered and that. So then put the 6-point cage in, get everything engineered, and then it can run as fast as whatever, I think 750 or something like that. So it's never going to run that fast. Never say never. But yeah, I think unfortunately it's just going to have to bite the bullet and put a 6-point cage in it. Whatever, so be it. That's the brakes. But let's take a look at the next thing I've been working on. And this one is, well, it looks bloody ridiculous, to be honest, so let's take a look. All right, so I do have the dash just sitting there at the moment, and that thing that looks like it's taking up like 3/4 of the cabin is a working, functional HVAC unit. It is from a U12, what do we call them here? Bluebird, Pintara, something like that. So I've had to customize where the fan is just because it wouldn't fit, so I've got to make up a section that'll join these two together. But that is an AC unit right there. That is the heater core. You can see here, the heater core actually runs here. And what I'm actually going to do with this is, instead of having it worrying about like all the different flaps to go to your feed and demister and everything, all I want this heater to do and the air conditioner to do is one thing basically. And the one thing all I want this to do is just to make the cabin cooler or the cabin warmer. You know, the worst thing when you get into these old cars is the comfort level in the depths of winter and the heights of summer are horrendous, and you don't want to drive them, you know. I've tested it and it all works, and I'll show you where everything comes out. You can see where it works here. It's sort of hard to see, but heater 1 is just up there, heater 2 is there, and AC there and there. So all I have to do is run lines out to AC compressor there. Got the dryer and that there. Got the condenser on the front here, and that should be good to go. I definitely have pretty much everything I need for this car now. The wiring is like 80% done. What I need is I need the HVAC in there, bolted in place, everything done before I can put the wiring in, because the fuse box and the ECU need to fit around where that is. So I needed to get that in and sorted before I could do that. All of that set up there cost $110 or something. So I've got a fan, which I turn the fan on, it blows an absolute gale. So you've got the fan, you've got the AC unit, you've got the heater core, you've got the heater box and the diverter and everything, as well as the electric switches and that for $100. Now, I could have bought one of those Chinese standalone universal units, and they're like about $350. It's the same as what I had in the F350, and they are absolute dog crap. So if you're looking to get one of those, unless you've got maybe an F truck with a small cabin, even then still, they're just junk. I know there's other companies out there making decent ones, and trust me, like if the cost of difference between the Chinesey ones is $300 and the much better, really good ones is $1,500 or something, spend more money on comfort, because comfort is what will make you get out and enjoy this. All right, so still chasing 929 RX4, whatever sedan seat. If you've got RX4 sedan rear seat, top and bottom, I'd probably just buy the top and bottom anyway. And that this beast is ready to go pretty much. I need to start it at some point. Connecting the injector plugs will definitely help with that. They're not connected up, so they're not connected up because they were pulled out of the car and all cleaned out. Now, if you're running methanol or you're running ethanol in a race car or in a car like this, and you're going to leave that alcohol-based fuel just sitting around in your fuel system for months and months without it being cycled through, you're probably going to find that you're going to have a bad time. So especially with methanol is really, really corrosive. So what you should be doing is, at the end of every race meet, you either do one of two things. You completely drain all the methanol out of the system, you fill it with like a unleaded petrol from, you know, just your normal unleaded whatever pump petrol, and you flush and cycle that through the system and try and run the engine a bit. And what that will do is it will leave that, you know, oil-based fuel lubricating the system so nothing sort of dries out or corrodes or whatever. What happens with methanol and ethanol and that is they eat away, they'll rust steel because they'll draw so much moisture out of the air. They will corrode and eat aluminium. And then once it evaporates, it leaves a chalky residue, and that chalky residue will get caught in your filters, it'll get caught in your injectors, and it'll ruin everything. So you either need to totally pickle your fuel system, which is what putting unleaded through is known as, or take out all your injectors, clean them thoroughly, then put them in like a little Ziploc bag filled with WD-40 or some penetrating oil on that, so they don't rust up, and leave them until you want to race again next time. I've done this 3 or 4 times now where I've just left them for a couple of months and just completely forgot about them. Any other normal injector would probably be absolutely gone by that stage, and they're expensive, like $400 or something each. I can't remember the price, but that or more each to replace. And yeah, put them in the test machine, and they tested like they did the day I put them, that I originally got them. So those injectors are phenomenal, really love them, and the Deckers that are alongside it also tested perfect as well. So they're also a really good injector I can recommend if you're going to run ethanol or methanol if you need some big squirters. But overall, flushed out the fluids, got some new Type F ready to go, got this all back in. I find this is better with the methanol than like the HPR, just it doesn't tend to milk up as much, so might have a lower, might heat up better or something, and that's why it boils off the methanol quicker or whatever. And then obviously we have this contraption, which is my external transmission cooler. If you have no idea what that is, there was a video about it a couple of weeks ago. So go and check that video out. I'll put a link down in the comments or something, but you can find out what that is, how that works, and why I use it. All right, what we might do is, instead of just having a normal random update video, is let's make this strut brace. So what I need to do is obviously have this shape that I need to bend this flat to. So obviously you see there it's not bent yet, so I pretty much need to get something that's got this radius, that's really thick wall that I can beat a shaping hammer with to get that. And what I think I'm going to use is an old welding bottle that I've got. So I'm going to beat that and we'll see how we go against the welding bottle. Inert gas, so it's not going to explode, so I'm not worried about that. And it was a bottle I found that was here originally when I moved in, so it's not like it's rented or it's mine anymore. So all right, let's do that, see how we go. All right, change of tactic. I'm just going to beat the living suitcase out of this with a hammer in the vise and just shape it. How do I know if this is going to work or not? Well, I cheated and I've already done one and it worked mint, so that's what I'm going to do for this one as well. So there we have it. These were only trimmed rough to start with down the bottom, so what I'll do is I'll actually put these back in the car. I think these need to be welded on a slight angle back like that, and then once they're welded I can just neatly do all the corners and things like that, so they're not big square blocks, but that is looking pretty good to me. All right, they're pretty much exactly where I want them to sit. You can see here where they are. Now what I'll more than likely do is I will just lean these back a tiny bit, just so it's almost like a 90-degree face that these can mount up to, but I'll weld those in now. What I'll do is I'll lean them back, tack weld it, then weld them properly, maybe give them a nice clean up and shape up so they're both individually enough I can get around them easily, and then I'll worry about welding this in next. All right, well I can't finish a strut brace because I just realised I don't have any 3 or 4 mil steel. I think I go from like 2 mil or 2 1/4, or probably whatever the imperial version of that is. But it's basically 2 mil, and then I'd step up to some of that 6 mil plate that I got. So that ain't no good, because right here I need some 3 or 4 mil. The 2 mil's just not going to be strong enough to hold any load in that. So here is the strut brace. This is just tack welded in place. So this is 1.25" 102 walls. So this is actually really strong. But what I'm going to be doing here is this will come out over here and probably run across there and all the way there. And then, I don't know, maybe I might triangulate it back here as well. On that side, because I can, but on this side I don't think I can. So we'll see, maybe I'll do something here or something just to strengthen it up. But that is that's some super thick tube. I mean, that takes 8 ton of force just to do that bend there. So not worried about the strength of that at all, but that'll definitely strengthen the front of the car up. As you can see, the muffler setup is in place, ready to go. Have to start the old beast of the RX7, make sure it all runs and idles. Still having trouble obviously starting it when it's hot, because it just needs some nice clean runs over and over again to beat those housings back in shape. Got to do a fluid change, so get plenty of the good stuff in there this is the oil for the Barra, and that is the oil for, or the fluid for the ZF, and this is what I run in the RX7. So got all that ready to go now, but yeah, little bits and pieces all coming together. Next step is put some fuel in this, put a bit more oil in it. One thing I still do need to do also is, I've got my little clear tube there with one of the transcore lines on there. I'm going to flush the converter, and the reason I do that is obviously the oil was a bit, but when I took off the pan, so it had got a bit warm. You can't just, you can't just take the oil out of the converter. Like if you had a bolt together converter, which, those things are like $3,500. If you had a bolt together converter, sure you can, but bolt together converter means you have to get the converter out first. So you have to take the tail shaft out, take the transmission out, unbolt the converter, take that out, take it apart, flush it out, do all that. So it's not overly simple to do that on this thing, and you get the same result essentially by taking off one of the cooler lines, because that's the direct out basically from the converter, and run the car a little bit and just fill that bottle, and that'll be everything that's basically in the converter flushed out. And yeah, once you've cycled through a couple of litres of that and it's looking all brand new and cherry ripe, bang, no worries, put the converter lines back on and yeah, top up the fluid again. So definitely don't do that if you don't know what you're doing, but because if you run your pan empty or something, then your transmission will be dead. So buyer beware. Anyway, I think that should do us for now. Kick this thing in the guts, and we'll get out to Heathcote Park Raceway racing on April the 30th. So come down if you want to see us race, say g'day, or don't. Live your life however you want. I'm not going to tell you how to do what you need to do. Until next time, I'll see you later.